everyone. Welcome back to the show, and this is me speaking from the past to the guys in the future. Have gas prices gone down yet? Just out of curiosity. Anyway, this is the GoodNight Take One podcast performing at night, so we're actually true to our word. This is a late night podcast. I have my third guest, and I'm going to hand over my prop to my third guest, Brandon McKelvey. How you doing, man?
I'm good.
I didn't even ask you to take one. You knew exactly what we were supposed to be doing. Absolutely. Anyway, so Brandon is a pro basketball player, professional nerd. He also has his own podcast. Remind me what the name of your podcast name is.
Be in Your Lane TV, Be in Your Lane podcast. You can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube, Be in Your Lane, BINYOURPODCAST.
For the dyslexics out there, thank you very much.
Yeah, I really had to do that, but like I had, it was like all in one word. But you know that your like YOUR, that was the most part that'd be kicking people's butt sometimes.
Especially for the current generation who spells YOUR is like yours, like YR, or like the text language is like your.
And then, or they put YOU apostrophe RE, like
or
I don't understand where nobody was paying attention to English class apparently. So
no one's doing that, and I think it's not. It's part of the country people. The country people have their own language. We're in Texas. We slang our words. We are the laziest language ever because we're taking words out of our letters out of our words.
Without a doubt. I mean, I went to Spain and played basketball, and I had an argument with a girl at a club about how stupid our English system was, and I was just like. Bro, I'm supposed to be having fun in a club, and I'm sitting here arguing over the English language.
That seems like the wrong place to do it. Who was this woman that you made contact with?
I don't know. I got a number at Snapchat. I was like, we don't talk.
She remembers her number but doesn't know how to spell.
Look, they apparently invented the English language over there in Britain, which, I mean, technically that's true. So they feel like they have the blueprint.
Who's they? Those people are dead. This is a new generation of morons.
You're going to have to go have a conversation with them.
Yeah, all right.
The next time I'm going to a club, it will not be to argue about English. So.
All right. Well, we have other things to talk about in the podcast, specific nerd things. We'll get into the English language and why that's being degraded soon. But let's talk about nerd topics for this future. So the Kenobi news, that's been coming out. The Kenobi trailer came out last week to mostly positive stuff. I did a podcast about that recently where I talked about the good stuff, talked about the negative stuff. But some news has been coming out. That's, I feel like, mostly negative, which is not good. Because I was kind of positive about the Kenobi trailer as of recent and the stuff that's been released. And then I started reading more and more and more about the production, about going further into that. And it's not looking as good as I remember. It's not looking as good as I'd hope. The news that came out specifically is there's two things. One is pertaining to Darth Maul, but I'll go over the broad spectrum first. Kathleen Kennedy said in a most recent interview on, I think, IndieWire, that the original draft of the Obi Wan Kenobi series had the whole series as a rather dark series, which seemed to be in line with the timeline. This is after Revenge of the Sith. In the dark age where the Empire is reigning, the Empire has won, the Sith have won, everybody's taken over, and Darth Vader is killing Jedi left and right. And then right before A New Hope, where things start to get light again. So this series is in a very dark area in Obi Wan Kenobi's life, in the galaxy's life. So that makes sense. And then she came in and said, we wanted to do some rewrites, and there were some rewrites to make this whole series a whole lot lighter. And again, if I'm going back to what I said in the previous podcasts, that shows me that Disney still doesn't 100% understand or respect Star Wars material because they're trying to force their own stories into already created lore. What do you think?
Look, this is Disney we're talking about. So Disney is already the S in Disney stands for soft.
So it's literally the dyslexic word of the day.
Literally,
it's Dysopny. It's Dysopny.
It stands for soft. The reason why I say that is because I mean Disney. We draw. A lot of us watch Disney growing up. It's kids,
of course.
So they're not trying to make it too dark because they're trying to appease literally two age groups. You're trying to appease the younger kids who are just learning about Star Wars, and then you're trying to appease old heads like us.
Yeah.
Who grew up on prequel, trilogy, and we saw dark. I mean, we did. We saw with Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith would have been the greatest movie of all time to me if Anakin didn't turn to the dark side. But he had to.
Yeah, he had to.
You can't. The original trilogy is what it is. You can't go back and twist all of that. So I hate it had to be that way. And Revenge of the Sith was a great movie.
But you can't really come back from child murder and say, "All right, we're good. I changed my mind. I'll go with the light side."
Attack of the Clone wasn't necessarily a walk in the park.
Not really. I killed not just the women, but the men and the children, the women and the children too.
Women and the children too. He's sitting there crying over it like he's about to punch a wall.
And freaking Padme over here is not getting any red flags. Apparently, there's nothing going on in her brain. Her brain is still loading. It's like, yo, apparently I'm still attracted to this guy who just committed mass murder.
Man.
Yeah.
Red flag, like, woo.
They didn't cue in on you at all.
Does it wake up at all? Like, he just killed mass murder. Like, no, he's not going to, I mean. You don't think he's going to come back and kill you one day? I mean.
This is going to be the father of my children. I want to have this guy's babies, 100%.
100%. I'm going to get married to a guy with a robotic arm who charged a Sith Lord with 2 lightsabers, and he's still in Padawan class. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, it's just look. The logic didn't make any sense. But as far as Kenobi,
it makes a little more sense. At least he fought the guy in Revenge of the Sith. At least you saw the guy kill younglings, and you gotta die. He's gotta go.
Well, you put it like that, it's just cringeworthy. Anyway, as far as Kenobi goes, the way I could see them making it hopeful. You can make it hopeful because let's be honest, Alex Guinness.
Yeah.
He wasn't a broken character.
No.
Like, he was a hopeful, he was still sarcastic.
Mm-hmm.
He was, you're the guy. So how does he go from the depression all the way to that guy?
Yeah.
So you got to remember, I think the closer it is to Revenge of the Sith, the more dark it would have to be.
Right.
But we're talking about the middle pack, the middle part of the 10 to 20 years. There's a 20-year difference between
that's true.
Revenge of the Sith and the New Hope. It's 20 years.
That's true.
So he's had 10 years of the kind of, in the
ingest
system, come to conclusion, come to grips with the fact that this happened.
Yeah.
So 10 years is a long time.
True.
And at this point, I know he's not probably seeing a therapist, but he got something, somebody.
Yeah, Obi Wan Kenobi for the modern age. He's seeing a therapist.
Right. So, I mean, he's had some time to come to grips. Now, this was like 2 or 3 years after. Yeah, it would be dark times. Like I said, the closer it would be to the Revenge of the Sith, the darker it would have to be. The way she worded it made it seem a lot more trash, and I actually think she meant it, because I really hope that she didn't mean hopeful. Let's not get too caught up in words. We saw the Inquisitors on there.
Yeah.
That's not hopeful.
No.
It's not hopeful.
There's a guy hanging in this trailer. We've never seen a Star Wars hanging before. That's pretty dark, I would say. Some would say.
Or somebody using the Force? Because somebody said it wasn't somebody using the Force.
I think he was hanged. I don't know. Like, it's entirely possible.
If it is hanging, let's like I said, let's not get too caught up in the words. Let's take the trailer at face value.
Yeah.
We saw Inquisitors. We saw one of them, the Grand Inquisitor, using his little helicopter BS.
Right.
I'm not a fan of that, by the way.
No. Mary Poppins. That's
really, really weird.
That's the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. One of the Inquisitors shouting that crap.
Save it. I don't like it.
Oh, I don't like it either.
I don't like it. I'm telling Disney to say
it. It wonderfully fits in Rebels, which is a series that also sucks.
Rebels had to grow on me. But I'm still not sure about the Inquisitors. I'm not sure if I'm really a fan of them yet. Like, they got duped every time I saw them. I'm not really sitting here like, oh yeah. It's weird because
did you play
all of these like Jedi hunters? Like every time they're actually shown, they're getting burned. So it's like you hear, like, oh, they killed such and such Jedi. I'm like, well, how weak were these Jedi? Because these guys are trash to me.
Well, Darth Vader can't be everywhere. Like, Darth Vader is the main Jedi hunter in the galaxy.
Right.
Like, that is the thing that fuels him. He needs purpose. He needs to go out there and kill something. And the stories where Darth Vader has nothing to do is the times where he's most depressed because he has nothing left at this point. All he has left is to serve the Emperor and to kill Jedi. That's all he has left in his life because Padme's dead. That's all he has. And so he's spent his entire life searching for the Jedi and specifically searching for Obi Wan Kenobi.
Right.
Now, I want to ask you a question. Do you think that we're going to get the scene where Obi Wan Kenobi realizes that Darth Vader is Anakin Skywalker? Or because the Empire does a lot of marketing and a lot of promotion of their own guys, they're going to be promoting Darth Vader, and Obi-Wan is eventually going to realize that Darth Vader is alive and that his apprentice is that person in the suit.
I guess we are counting on the fact that we've actually, I mean, now that I think about it, we actually haven't had an on-screen moment of Kenobi realizing that Darth Vader's Anakin.
Yeah.
That is really wild. If I'm going to answer that question, I would tell you yes. I think they have to. Like, after 10 years, you've been hearing about this guy in a black suit who's been terrorizing everybody. At some point, like, why wouldn't he know it's Anakin? So I would, now, if they are going to do it, which I believe they are, it better be a specific, special moment. They cannot just throw it in there.
No, not at all.
That has to be a moment that almost brings you to tears.
Yeah.
Like, to make you realize, wow, are you serious?
Yeah.
You know, like,
This can't be Luke Skywalker realizing that Han Solo was dead in The Last Jedi. They spend 2 seconds on it and that's it.
That pissed me off too. I don't even think Han Solo should have died, but whatever.
Let me just bring the tension in the room by mentioning The Last Jedi.
I'm still waiting on Star Wars. How would you? Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
If Star Wars were to do a standalone film or a kind of like a separate thing where they allow time travel and allow someone to go back and twist Anakin Skywalker from ever turning to the dark side, would you be okay with it?
The thing is, I really don't think that Disney of itself, you're saying this as a what-if scenario, I don't think Disney's above doing that in the future.
I don't either, but would you be okay with it?
No. I mean, you're already screwing with the I feel like Disney is already screwing with the continuity as it is, and they're really bending it.
They messed some things up.
Yeah, they're really bending. Like, some areas that's okay, because some areas that explains certain gaps, like Rogue One. Rogue One explained a gap in a story that works good. And I think Obi-Wan has the same opportunity. It explains a whole gap in a story where Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. That's an interesting gap that we can explore, especially because we're seeing the psyche of Obi-Wan Kenobi, a character who we all love, going through this intense trauma. The fact that he goes through this broken character and he eventually becomes Alec Guinness's character, that's pretty cool. I don't know, because I'm not a fan of Rebels for the most part. I think Ahsoka, Darth Vader, and Darth Maul were cool, and everyone else sucked, except Kanan was okay. Ezra is a piece of crap. I hate that little turd, and I wish Darth Vader killed him. But I'm not a fan of time travel at all. I feel like that's a lazy writing technique, and unless you're making a movie about time travel, like Back to the Future or any of those other time travel movies that are actually good, like Looper. Looper's great. I don't think time travel fits in the Star Wars universe at all. I think that's a lazy writing technique. You like it?
I like it.
Oh, tell me why you're the Antichrist.
I like it. I don't know. And maybe it's just a personal thing because everybody has their, if I had a time travel moment and go back and change this and change that.
Yeah.
You know, with Star Wars, I like the idea of someone being able to go back and change. The only problem with time travel is that if you change certain things, you're going to change too much.
Mm-hmm.
So the big story is Anakin, changing and, going to the dark side.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm personally, Anakin is my favorite character. All the way from Revenge of the Sith, Anakin, Clone Wars, this TV show, Anakin, like, that guy's a monster.
Oh, yeah.
In a good way. He's a monster. And the curiosity in my mind will always be, how great could he have become? Like, I just think he goes crazy. Like, the way the Star Wars Clone Wars, the TV show, portrayed him, I mean, he was that guy.
Yeah.
He was the man. Like, no questions asked. The most impossible missions, he made it happen.
Yeah.
When Obi Wan is sitting there clueless, Anakin's coming up with this wild idea that is like, we're gonna do this. Anakin, no, this is the worst idea ever.
Literally,
no, I promise you, just trust me. And then what happens? He makes a way out of no way.
Uh-huh.
Even if the plan A don't work, plan B, C, D, E, he got it.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing and nobody was stopping him. The only thing that he had to really not catch up on, but at least get to the super elite level where he could kill like the big guys was just one-on-one blade combat. Other than that, I mean, he was better than everybody else.
Yeah.
Force-wise, intellect, his instincts were crazy. Like, that guy, he just didn't know that he never needed to turn to the dark side. Like, it's not, he could tiptoe it, but nobody ever taught him how to do that. Like, you know, if you're not gonna change Anakin going to the dark side, like what happens if Qui-Gon Jinn stays alive?
Or, and this is actually something that happened in the conceptual art for Revenge of the Sith. There's an image, and I totally wish they should have done this, where Padme is in this red dress or this red cloak when she meets Anakin at Mustafar. And she's holding a knife, so she's going to try and kill Anakin Skywalker. I think that would have been a very interesting thing to bring to the movie instead of the scene where she's just crying. And I love Revenge of the Sith. Don't get me wrong. That's my personal favorite Star Wars movie. I can watch that movie anytime, any day. Empire Strikes Back is technically speaking the best Star Wars movie, but I kind of have to be in the mood to watch that movie. I can watch Revenge of the Sith any day, anytime. But I think that scene could have been improved with a little bit of adding the fact that a little bit of more tension between him and her husband, because her understanding that she still loves her husband but knows that he's a monster at this point. Like, dude, he could kill kids. There's no coming back from that. He murdered a bunch of kids. Like, Master Skywalker, what? Shut up. And he dead. I would have gone back in time and slapped Padme, and when she was sympathizing with him after he just admitted to murder, it's like, what you doing? Cut that out. Run away. This guy's crazy. But
yeah. I don't know about a knife because
Yeah.
I've never seen a knife in Star Wars.
Well, that's what she was holding in the image. She was literally going to try and kill.
I'm glad that it wasn't specifically a knife.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I do agree with you. Imagine how great Anakin could have been if he was like, if he did turn out to be a good guy. There's a lot of conceptual ideas out there by fans. If Qui-Gon Jinn actually trained Anakin Skywalker, he would have been kept in the dark or the light. Because Obi Wan Kenobi, for as great as everyone loves that character, he was more of a brother than a mentor to Anakin.
He was that, and he was too religious with it.
Yeah,
he was way too religious with it, and that's what I don't want to bring the whole. You know, we're not talking about religion, but that's.
Oh no, let's do it.
Even as a Christian, like being too religious to a fault is what the Pharisees were.
Yeah,
they had no type of balance, so they didn't really look at people as human beings. They look at them as you're supposed to do A, B, and C.
Yeah,
and then that's it. But you can't develop a relationship with someone by telling them to be a certain way, which is why developing a relationship with God, you know, you want to develop it, but he's not going to force himself on you. You have to be willing to come to him, despite knowing that you're going to make mistakes, despite knowing that you're going to do some boneheaded things, you're going to sin, all of the above. So let's just translate that back here. Like Obi Wan Kenobi was like
very rigid,
very by the book.
Yes,
very by the book, and it had to be a certain way, and that's why Anakin felt trapped.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, and I'm not trying to say he was a parent because he wasn't, but it was almost like strict parents.
Mm-hmm.
Like how many, going to college? You know how many people I know went to college, had strict parents, end up acting a fool when they got all that freedom?
Yeah. Or they didn't know what to do because they weren't trained in that area. It's like, what do I do when like this happens in my life? Exactly. And the parents are like, no, just don't do this. And they're going to be introduced to this when they go out in the real world, when they go out in public school. Exactly what Anakin was.
Exactly. And so this is where, and I'm glad we're actually getting deep into this because I think this all ties into the Kenobi series. This is where I believe Kenobi is going to look back and say, I was so by the book. Mm-hmm. I was so, they use the word dogmatic. Yeah. So practical that I missed it. Yeah. I missed, like, I was enjoying his success as a Jedi so much that I missed what was really going on. Yeah. Like, that's really true. They ignored all of the signs. Like, the Tomb Raider thing. I mean, not Tomb Raider. The Raider. The what are they called?
The Tusken Raiders.
Tusken Raiders.
Yeah, slaughtered all of them.
And they knew about that, right?
Oh, they knew about it 100%. Like Yoda sensed that crap. In,
yeah, they knew.
Attack of the Clones.
They knew about it. So that, then Yoda, his mom dying.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that he's having a one-on-one with Yoda, and I love Yoda as a character, but I think he was 100% wrong in saying, like, mourn them, do not miss them, do not rejoice when someone dies. And not explaining that or, like, sympathizing with Anakin Skywalker, who's already an emotional person, but who has been through so much freaking trauma in his days, to tell him to just accept the fact that his wife is going to die, not actually just sympathizing with him. Maybe he's doing something wrong in their eyes, but dude, the guy's going through some crap, and no one is on his side at this point, which is exactly why he's siding with the Emperor, because at least this guy is giving him a way to save his wife, and he's telling them, like, don't be brought down by the dogmatic views of the Jedi. I have another way. This is an easier way. You do this, and, like, again, the route to evil is the easy route, which is what the Emperor. But at least the Emperor is giving him an opportunity to save his wife. The Jedi aren't even considering it.
Right, and I've been through a real life situation recently, even last year, in basketball, where I've had people, coaches, who manipulated us or tried to manipulate us as players.
Yeah.
Because they were preying on what we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
We want to play at the next level. We want to go to the NBA. We want to play overseas. We want to do this, and it's making those empty promises that they really can't keep. Or they might try to keep them, and they may eventually succeed, but they're not exactly where they are.
Yeah.
And they say, all that type of stuff. And so, having gone through that type of thing before, when you're so emotionally invested into something or someone, it can blind you or make you completely reckless and make you make decisions you otherwise wouldn't make.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Anakin had a great heart. He had a very great heart. He was always trying to help somebody.
Mm-hmm.
He was always making the impossible missions to go save somebody.
Yeah.
Even if, I mean, how many times did he save Ahsoka?
Bajillion times.
In the Clone Wars series?
He put his life, like, even for his droid, even for the clones.
And for the droids. Like, come on, really?
Even in Revenge of the Sith, like, sometimes people say the continuity of the Clone Wars, it doesn't 100% match in Revenge of the Sith. I disagree. Because you see Anakin Skywalker, even in Revenge of the Sith, saying, I'm going to go help them out. And the very beginning of Revenge of the Sith, when they're in there at Fire Pilot and seeing Obi-Wan's saying, nope, focus on the missions. But Anakin's trying to help out his fellow clones, his fellow soldiers.
Exactly. And so, that's my thing, as you're saying it, like, you understand the emotional background. And so these things are going to, I hope that the Disney writers are going to dive into that.
Yeah.
Because I know hindsight's 2020. So Kenobi is, I expect to see flashbacks, a ton of them.
We will see flashbacks.
Yes, I don't know.
It's been confirmed that we will see Clone Wars flashbacks. So we'll see Hayden Christensen in the Clone Wars costume, Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I believe, I can't quite remember if this has actually been confirmed, but we will be seeing Tamara Morrison as one of the clone troopers. Potentially Captain Rex. I hope to God, because that would be awesome.
I think they need to have Captain Rex in there.
Oh, mm-hmm.
100%. I think they need to have Captain Rex in there. I think they need to have Ahsoka in there.
Who would be playing young Ahsoka? Because we've seen old Ahsoka and Rosario Dawson, but I don't know who'd be playing young Ahsoka. Because I feel like you get a little bit more leeway with Rosario Dawson because she's an older version of Ahsoka. I think Rosario Dawson did a great job, but again, she's portraying an older version. She doesn't necessarily need to be the same as younger version. Version of Ahsoka.
They do need to have a younger version of. I don't know, but I think that would be a pleasant surprise for them to have younger Ahsoka. Yeah. I think that she needs to be in there though. I think that at some point, she saw it too. And I 100% believe that we need to see a live action interaction between her and Kenobi in the show. Yeah. I really think, I think it all ties together. Mm-hmm. It all ties together. Like, you can't, like, if they leave it out, okay. The show can still be great without it. It can be. But I just genuinely think if you're genuinely tying in the whole story between the Clone Wars flashbacks and what's happening right now, I genuinely think you need to include everybody that was a part of that story. So
True.
I think with Kenobi, It can be hopeful, but I think that they could have. I don't think the series itself is going to be super hopeful through. I think it's going to have a lot of more dark moments.
Yeah.
It'll have a lot of great moments of triumph. You know, it wasn't all bad. You know,
Yeah.
it wasn't. It can't be all bad, but it can have a lot of triumph, and then it could also have a lot of dark moments. It have a
Yeah.
lot of emotional moments. It could be all tied up into one. And so, the only way I could see my envisioning, I don't, and you can speak on this too. My envisioning for what I think how I think the Kenobi series is going to end is that it's going to end with Kenobi right back on Tatooine looking over Luke.
Yeah, it has to be.
It
because
has to.
You have to have that continuity.
Right.
My problem with with Kathleen Kennedy saying that it's going to be a hopeful series is that my fear is that they're missing the point of this, and that this needs to be dark. And I don't think Star Wars fans are opposed to having dark stories.
Right.
Revenge of the Sith is horribly dark. Like, it's not super graphic and everything that shows, but there's child murder, there's genocide. Anakin Skywalker gets burned alive, and you get to see that graphically. I'm not saying dark for dark's sake, but this story is a very depressing story. Kenobi is at his worst. Like, there is no one in his life to help him except for potentially the ghost of Qui-Gon Jinn, and maybe he visits Yoda. I doubt it, but maybe he visits him. I do agree. I want them to embrace the darkness and embrace the fact that this is a very sad time. But I will agree with you, yeah, it doesn't need to end up being hopeful because Alec Guinness's character is not a hopeless character. He's very much an optimist. He's very much kind of a happy old man a little bit. But I do think that he needs to lose hope in Darth Vader. Because when you see Alec Guinness's character and when he's admitting to Luke Skywalker, like, you need to fight Darth Vader and you need to kill him. Because he says that he is more machine now than man. Obi-Wan Kenobi can redeem hope, but
that's an actual quote, right?
Yeah, he's more machine now than man. Like, Obi-Wan Kenobi can regain hope in and of himself and the Jedi ways and helping Luke Skywalker, but I think he has to lose hope in Darth Vader and him returning. I think he has to understand that Anakin Skywalker's too far gone and that he needs to die. And that's why it's so special for Luke to turn his father.
Yes, and so now that you mentioned and reminded me of that specific line, as far as he's more machine than man, I think that they need to, and I think it was one point, because I was watching a video, at one point they were saying they were barely going to have Vader on there. I was like, they need to have Vader a lot. Like, he needs to be on there quite a bit. Like,
Yeah.
I don't expect him to show up until, like, the third episode maybe, but I think, you know, once he's in there, he got to be in there.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I think at this point, I think you need to see this. It's called Kenobi, but you got to see the transition period of Anakin too, because I think 10 years in, Anakin's still there.
Yeah.
Like, without a doubt. Like, he's still there. And the one way I know how he's still there, just go back to the Rebels. One of my favorite Rebels moments was when Ahsoka jacked his helmet on the fight, and his eyes went back to his normal color for a second, and he said, Ahsoka, you could hear his voice. And I'm like, he's still
Anakin.
there.
Yeah.
He's still there. So that was probably what? That was 10 years later, roughly. So I would not expect him to be gone at this point. And even when Luke turned his father back to the light, or helped turn his father back to the light, that just shows me that Anakin never quite disappeared. He just became a very minuscule voice.
Yeah.
That the only person that could do it was Luke.
Yeah.
So at this point, 10 years later, I expect to see an Anakin. Let me ask the question. I need to kind of get reminded. Could we expect them to see Darth Vader and Kenobi face to face, actual setting?
We will. What has been confirmed in the series is that Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader will have a rematch, and that we will be able to see them fight. And a lot of people, again, the biggest problem that a lot of people have been having is like, does that screw with the continuity? I don't think so.
But that's what I was about to ask. Does it screw the continuity? Because isn't in A New Hope?
Yeah.
Didn't he say that he hadn't seen him since Mustafar, or something to that effect?
Well, here's the thing. He never mentions Mustafar. The exact line that Darth Vader says in A New Hope is when he senses his old master, he says, I haven't felt this presence since And he doesn't finish the sentence. He just walks off. And when he sees Kenobi, he says, "It's some. Like when I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master." Okay, so quick. I guess I might as well do this. Quick update. For some reason, our mics cut out because technology is the worst. But yeah, I think we were talking about Darth Vader and dueling on Mustafar. It's not going to screw with continuity. We'll just pretend like this is a continuation. It's not going to screw with continuity. Because of the implications of Darth Vader saying in A New Hope, it leaves it up for interpretation. It doesn't mean it doesn't necessarily their last duel does not necessarily need to happen in Mustafar. It can happen any other time. It can happen at several other places. So it's not going to screw with continuity, as far as I'm aware, unless Disney just has really lazy writers and just it's like screw it. We'll mold this whole area to fit the story that we want.
Let me ask you a question: how powerful do you think this Darth Vader will be? We haven't seen a powerful, crazy on-screen Vader in a sword fight.
From the sources that have been, spouting, not to me, because no one talks to me, except you, apparently, but other people, we're going to have a very pissed off, angry Darth Vader, which is exactly what Darth Vader is supposed to be. He's angry all the time. It's why it's the only way he's able to bury that emotions that was Anakin Skywalker.
I mean, he's always pissed off. I'm not worried about him being pissed off. I'm talking about when he has to lace him up and go fight Kenobi. How good is he gonna be? If you're asking me, he should be in a prime he should be prime physical, able to move Vader.
100%. What we got in Rogue One is what I assume we're gonna get here.
We saw. I mean, he was slicing up little minions and stuff, but I'm not impressed by that. I want to see him fight somebody. You know what I mean? And
the
only time we've ever seen that was on Rebels. We saw it in video games, all that crap. I don't know. I want to see it on screen. I personally think he's had 10 years in the suit.
Yeah,
you should be used to it by now.
Mm-hmm.
I need to see you hopping around a little bit.
Yeah. Well, Darth Vader, that suit is incredibly restrictive, and Darth Vader had to learn to maneuver around that. He's still incredibly powerful, obviously, but that's going to be very restrictive to someone who's, used to being a human. Now he's mostly machine.
Well, that's what I'm saying. 10 years down the line, he should be good, I'm going to tell you one of the reasons why I'm not a fan of I'm not a big fan of the old Star Wars movies is because they're terrible with the lightsabers. Like, they're horrible. Like, Luke, I could never be a fan of Luke like that. Like, I wasn't like a big fan of Luke or just like a major fan. Like, everybody, Luke Skywalker. I'm Anakin. Like, that guy.
He's the boss.
That guy. He could fight.
You see the fights in Revenge of the Sith where they are like jumping from tower to tower on lava and swinging their lightsabers a million miles an hour.
Come on, man.
And then we have the modern day fights where somehow that's supposed to be better, but you have the crappy Rey and Kylo Ren fight at the very end where they're just slowly swinging their lightsabers at each other.
They're trash too. But I mean, Ben wasn't bad, but Rey was horrible. Rey was better in the last one. She was better in the last one.
Was she really?
Yeah, because she
taking the biggest swings on a 2-year-old. A 2-year-old could have blocked those shots.
When she was doing Force Awakens or whatever, she looked like she was a kid swinging at a pinata. Like,
yeah, and over time she got worse.
But you expected that because it would make sense. Like, she hadn't got real training.
Yeah, but
like I felt like my problem with Rey was that they jacked her storyline up. Like it was. How do you go from not knowing anything about a lightsaber to swinging it like a pinata, and the next thing you know, you're able to, like, she going crazy with it. So I'm like, the story doesn't add up to me. Like, it's like, what makes people like or love Luke is the character buildup. The character buildup in the trilogy was trash. Booty water. Like,
for Luke or Rey?
All of them.
Excuse me?
All of them.
I'll even fight you on Rey a little bit. Like, at least with the only thing that I actually slightly enjoy about Rise of Skywalker is at least I understand Rey's struggle a little more. Like,
no. I understand the struggle. I'm just saying the character build-up from film 1 to film 3 was terrible to me. Like, I could never really identify with Rey, like, completely, because it was like, where your training is all over the place. Luke is here, then he's gone. I don't think anybody was a fan of him getting or dying.
I haven't met one person.
I haven't met one person that was a fan of him dying.
I've met people that have respected the decisions that Rian Johnson had made for like, oh, it went in a completely different direction. Whatever, but it wasn't true to the character at all.
Anybody who agrees with anything that Rian did needs to be slapped too. Rian belongs in Star Wars hell. Like, there's nothing. He's never getting out.
Dear God, we're talking about this. This has been talked about so many times. The Last Jedi has been torn apart by everyone on the planet 10 times over. So let's do it again. I agree with you. I also respect Rian Johnson because he has directed some amazing movies. I've seen Looper. I've seen Brick. I've seen, what was it, Knives Out. Those are fantastic movies. For some reason, he skimmed on Star Wars. The biggest problem with that movie is that he made that movie about himself. He didn't make that movie a cohesive movie that followed The Force Awakens. He made the movie to satisfy himself. And you can do that with other movies, but you can't do that with Star Wars because that is a community movie. You need to, and it's also a trilogy movie. You need to be following in the footsteps of the movie that came before you in a respectful way that continues the story instead of halting the story to a complete freaking stop. Like at the ending of that movie, like there's nothing that you can do, which is why Rise of Skywalker was such a trash movie because it didn't have anything to build off of.
I agree, and so that's my problem. That's precisely my problem with The Last Jedi. It's just, I mean, there's so many problems. But like I said, I'm not a volatile person. Let's just get that out the way. But Rian Johnson deserves several slaps and as many lightsabers as I can find.
Hey, I'm not a volatile person, but I will commit violence on this specific person.
But yeah, nah.
Let's go. Let's throw some hands.
Yeah, throw some real hands. But yeah, man. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just,
But you know what Rian Johnson will say if
Star Wars had a chance to redeem what that moron did. And I think I blame if you have a problem with any of the fan service, I strictly blame Rian Johnson because I feel like sometimes, and I think they've done a good job. I mean, I don't know. I know a lot of grown men. I don't know if I shed a tear when Luke showed up, but I definitely was hyped. Like I was very face almost near the screen. And I just told you, I'm not even a big Luke fan, but it's just the fact that his presence invoked that type of emotion, even from someone like me who may not be the greatest fan of Luke, but Star Wars needed that. Like it needed that, and so. I guess the best thing that came out of Ryan's moronic decisions was the fan service. And I think I feel like Star Wars, and what I was really about to say is I feel like sometimes Star Wars has felt like they've had to overcompensate.
Yeah.
I think I don't think they felt like it. I think they knew they somewhat had to overcompensate for the BS that they had been throwing at us.
Mm-hmm.
Like The Last Jedi, not really. Rise of Skywalker, it was good, but it could have been so much better.
Rise of Skywalker was only fan service. It was also like trying to.
I can't even say what fan service was it.
It was
what fan service was in Rise of Skywalker.
It wasn't even fan service. It was mostly just trying to repair the damage that the Last Jedi did when
they didn't
you
do
see
a very
Rey.
good job to me as far as that.
Not
area.
at all, because
not at that area. What I just told you before the start. I said, if they wanted to just completely just redeem themselves for the trilogy, instead of just having voices at the end, they would have brought everybody back. That would have been actually
that would have been fan service. That would have been a great deserved fan service.
That would have been a great chance to bring some of these characters to live action instead of just seeing them now on Disney Plus.
It would also
I would rather seen Ahsoka then. I would have rather seen Kanan Jarrus.
Yeah.
I would have rather they bring Mace Windu. Look, I would have. You
feeling a little passionate?
Oh God! Oh my goodness! If they had done that, I was about to say I would have walked out. I couldn't have walked out, but I would have been standing up, screaming. I would have been going absolutely nuts. No way. What? All these characters I grew up with, and they're suddenly showing back on screen, and they're all the power and it's going into Rey, and she's going to slice. Man. That just would have been absolutely off the wall, but
I'm all the Jedi with absolutely none of the Jedi behind her. Also, where did that come from?
And then you had to go. Now you got to go on YouTube with YouTubers trying to tell you whose voices was who. I hated that.
Hold on, keep ranting. I'm gonna go change the battery.
It was a crazy it was a crazy decision to me not to have those those guys on it, and I just wish that they had gone out of their way to do it. And I can understand them holding it back to a certain degree, but I'm still not over. And if you're not gonna show everybody, you should have shown at least a few of them, like maybe like a few. Like
you should have shown Anakin.
Show Anakin. Show Yoda. Show Kenobi. Like,
because Anakin is still the chosen one.
Exactly.
And you just changed your mind last movie. Like by bringing Palpatine back, you essentially just made Anakin's sacrifice and Anakin's eternity end useless. Because he brought back like, you're still alive? What in the heck?
Is there any? Does Star Wars have any logic as far as a person can't see a Force ghost because they've never seen him in real life?
You have to be trained to see the Force ghost, because the whole continuity is that you need to be able to be trained to become a Force ghost, which is what Qui-Gon Jinn was training Yoda and Obi Wan Kenobi.
But did it say that you have to be trained to see them?
I have no idea, and I think that it's entirely a sequel trilogy problem. Because
I thought you may have mixed it up. I thought you just said that you have to be able to.
You have to be trained to become a Force ghost. You have to be trained to become a Force ghost, but you don't have to be trained to see him.
Okay,
Obi-Wan Kenobi is just like revealing himself.
Because I think you said the opposite. Not the opposite, but you said that both. Anyway,
entirely possible. I've had a drink, and I'm also skinny, so I'm a lightweight. It's not great.
There you go. So it's all good, but no. So yeah, I don't think you have to be trained to see them. Hence, Rey saw Luke, so I'm pretty sure he didn't train her to see a Force ghost. I mean,
no, she just appeared.
She has two eyes and a brain, so I mean, yeah, she can see him. Anyway, so
that wasn't even funny. Why am I laughing? It's just two eyes and a brain. You're a basic, competent human being. You have two eyes and a brain.
Yes.
Congratulations.
And ears and legs and whatever else a woman has.
What the hee-haw are you scratching for?
I don't know.
Are you itching my couch? Is it itchy?
The sequel trilogy makes me itch.
That is that could be a compliment or an insult. I don't even know how to take that.
It's a very bad insult. It's an insult, though.
Thanks for clarifying. That could, if it was a compliment, that's a weird compliment.
Oh no,
oh man, the sequel trilogy makes me itch. I'm sorry. Let's continue.
It makes me itch in a really bad way. It just makes me cringe.
I itch for good content.
Until I really just thought about how bad it really was. Like I'm like, they had us so hyped over some of these movies. Like I'm like, why did I spend however much money I spent to get into whatever theater to watch it? Like, I could have waited for this to come out and hated it then.
Could have waited Disney Plus, and then I would have like, oh, this is trash. But at least I didn't get out of my home, get dressed, and go see it in a theater and waste my time.
Sat in the first row.
Yeah, I could have at least wasted my time in a place where I could like stop the movie and rant. That's how me and my brother got past the fourth Transformers movie. We watched it in our house, and we paused it every like 30 seconds to stop and scream at the movie.
That's
what's going on here.
That's the fourth one with in the futuristic one.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg.
With Mark Wahlberg
and his.
Yeah, I'm a little bit upset that Shia LaBeouf didn't come back.
I loved Shia LaBeouf. He was funny in those movies.
But he didn't want to come back. He didn't sign on for it.
Yeah, he didn't sign on.
They had to change the whole thing. I didn't like that. I honestly didn't like. I didn't like it when Megan Fox left. To be honest with you. It's funny that we brought up Transformers. I recently just watched. There's two of them up on Netflix right now, and I went and watched both of them. I love Transformers. But yeah, the one where Megan Fox wasn't in it, like when they got that blonde.
Yeah, that was the third one, Dark of the Moon.
That was the third one, Dark of the Moon. I mean, great movie. I just you wish that Megan was in it. To me, the continuity of that relationship was really important.
I didn't really get.
You got like a blonde, skinny girl model who just gets thrust into battle.
She's prettier than Megan Fox. Especially, no, I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah, that's up for debate. I mean, they're both gorgeous. Don't get me wrong.
I don't actually think Megan Fox is that attractive.
They to me they have different vibes, so I can't really compare them.
Yeah.
You know, one of them's like super like sexy, and the other one's like petite. Model cute type of thing.
They're both
sexy, but
they're both
they're
models.
like different. They're different types of fine, different types of high, different types of cute, whatever.
Megan Fox is attractive to you?
Yes.
I've never found her attractive.
She
not at all.
Is, but she's definitely demonic.
Yeah.
She's definitely demonic. She's got some things there. She said some things in some interviews. I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna pray for you.
Yeah. I feel like that's most people in Hollywood. I don't know what's going on with Hollywood.
That's all of Hollywood. That's all of Hollywood. I'm just saying specifically, some of them are a little more outward with it. You
need to keep that to yourself.
Yeah, but the devil's throwing everything in our faces these days, so can't really. They're not trying to hide it anymore, and people are still getting distracted.
Oh no, like self-deprivation is apparently popular nowadays.
People are still getting distracted by Kim Kardashian. So yeah,
I can't believe I don't even know why she's famous in the first place. I guarantee you, if you interviewed every person in America, most people could not tell you why she's famous.
A sex tape.
No, that's never mind.
She's the first.
If that's the case, then most people
in
can.
History that has become a major celebrity off of sex tape.
And that's the case, then most people probably can.
She's the reason why OnlyFans exists.
What? Kim Kardashian?
She's the original OnlyFans.
I'm sure that some idiot out there would have come up with that, like, hey, what if I just do this in front of the camera? What's it? Oh, I got popularity.
I don't even know.
That's what happened.
I mean, that thing was so long. I don't even remember how that sex tape got leaked.
It brings up a subject. I've been watching Euphoria as of recent, and true to God, I don't know why this series is popular, because all it is self-deprivation. The movie, the series.
It's boring to me. I watched 2 episodes by accident. I got a friend named Robin. Shout out to Robin. She's pregnant with 2 twins. It's kind of funny how that happened. Anyway, not by me, of course. But
thanks for clarifying.
I definitely don't have kids on the way. No, my mom would kill me. Okay.
What a place to enter! What a place to like have that as an announcement, like a nerd podcast that has 13 subscribers. She's gonna watch this episode like, what? Who? Excuse me? You're gonna get so many phone calls after this.
Right?
What in there?
No, Robin's one of my best friends, but she I was at her house and we were just chilling, and she turned on Euphoria, and I didn't know what it was. This is before Euphoria got popular, so it just came out. Like I never heard anybody talk about Euphoria until like this year.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I was like, why did this show just all of a sudden get super popular? I'm like, this is wild to me. But
self-deprivation in the movie, that's popular. Self-deprivation.
Look, I haven't watched past 2 episodes, and I'm gonna tell you why. So the first 2 episodes I watched, it just obviously had some elements in there that are very, very like, to be honest with you, it really was. I mean, at the beginning of the show, she's fresh out of rehab, and she's still has these temptations to go back to drugs. She has I think it was the transsexual.
Yeah, I don't remember her name.
Is she still in the show?
Pink haired.
Was she blonde or pink? I don't remember.
I think pink. I want to say pink. I don't remember anyone's name. I remember Rue, and that's pretty much it. Or not Rue. What's her?
Her name's Rue.
Oh, Rue. Okay.
Rue.
Yeah, I got it. Cool.
Yeah.
I was remembering Hunger Games Rue.
Wait a minute.
Hunger Games Rue. I don't think I'm right.
No, it isn't Rue.
It's not Rue. Zendaya's character. We'll call it Zendaya's
character. It's not Rue. Yeah. You said Hunger. It is. That's Hunger Games.
It really shocked me. Like, no. That's not right.
I'm glad we're not caught up on the show. That just shows how much of a men we are. Anyway.
I've seen 4 episodes.
Yeah, baby, stop.
Yeah, the first episode, I will let you know, the first episode is so far the darkest. I'm sure it's going to get worse as I continue, because I want to watch this from
yeah. But I mean, look, if you went to public school back in the day or had affiliation with public school, this is like a public school played out on television.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is just the stuff that...
Is it really? Because I went to public school too, and this was not like that at all. I mean, that being said, I was kind of like a sheltered Christian boy, but even then, like, I went out in the sphere and, like, it's not what that was. It was more like people like walking around.
Reminds me of South Lake.
South Lake? I didn't go to South Lake.
Yeah.
I remember hated South because I went to Ellie Bell. We hated South Lake because South Lake had all the good athletes. It's like, screw y'all. We don't have anybody that's good over here.
South Lake. First of all, let me tell you this. Since we're gonna get on the topic of Southlake real quick. Everybody hates Southlake.
That's true.
That's
true.
Like if I tell people, yeah, like I grew up in Southlake, and it's like, come again? You're from where? we hate Southlake. I'm like, trust me, I don't like Southlake.
Mm-hmm.
I just was forced to live there. But I mean,
They have really good Oktoberfests.
I don't even know nothing about that.
You should go. It's really good.
I don't want
to have it once a year.
I've disassociated myself with Southlake. We're not doing
I
that.
implore you to do it, my guy.
No.
It is so fun.
You just we just had to march in Southlake over Black Lives Matter. I'm good.
You can go back again for Oktoberfest.
I am not.
It's like that, but beer. It's great.
Oh, I definitely don't like beer. Anyway. But Southlake, everybody hates Southlake, and you said we have all the good athletes. I actually disagree with you. We do not have the good athletes. We have the best training.
Okay.
We could take a bunch of kids from LD Bell, transfer them to Southlake, and they're gonna end up being really freaking good.
I can believe that because
LD Bell. I mean, there's a lot of surrounding high schools that have good athletes. They're not at Southlake.
Yeah.
Like, Southlake has great training. I mean, it's just yeah. So it's Southlake, but why do we bring up Southlake again?
I don't know why mad people do what they do.
I was thinking about. I brought up Southlake because Euphoria, and I was saying that Southlake had a drug problem. You had all these. It's the same issues that I saw and I'm seeing briefly in Euphoria. I see it in parties. I don't know if there's been any death. Has there been some death in there?
I was spoiled on season 2, and there's gonna be. I do think
Somebody
that's
probably died of an overdose.
I'm sure.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. When I was in high school, Southlake had a few overdoses and stuff like that. I mean, there's some kids that died. So I mean, it's not anything that hasn't been played out in real life. I just personally don't want to relive or think about seeing that stuff on with actors playing that out. Like, I was never into that life to begin with. I mean, I just knew about it. I mean, I did go to a few parties here and there, so I just know, but it's not something I'm particularly interested in. I can't do it.
I think it's telling when the most moral character in the entire story is a freaking drug dealer. Like the person who looks after Zendaya's character when that big drug dealer comes in.
Yeah,
like that guy.
He's at the very beginning of the show. I remember you talk. I don't remember his face, but I do remember that being the case.
Yeah, he seems like a cool person, and then is the drug dealer. Like that's the most moral character in the entire freaking show.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, I have an issue, and like it's a big issue I have with 13 Reasons Why. It's dramatizing something that's super serious and making it sound like it's admirable. None of that crap is admirable. It leads to a horrible life, but you're dramatizing it in a way like, and I'm sure Hollywood people and people who are making that show, there's some passion behind it. And I'm sure a lot of them are trying to bring this stuff to light and say like this is not a good thing. But I also believe you're dramatizing this and making it appealing because you have Zendaya who's gorgeous. She's playing a character. She's playing a drug addict, and it's making it look like a life that's almost desirable. And it makes it because people are searching for purpose in their life, and they're like, this could be a purposeful thing. This could give me purpose in life. It's not something that's going to give you purpose. It's going to lead you down a dark hole, my guy.
The purpose of Hollywood is to lead people astray, so we should never be surprised at the crazy plots and the drugs. And I mean, that stuff existed, to have fun, back in the day for the most part. Now it's like a super recreational use to the point of glorification.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I don't know. That stuff wasn't glorified. That's what we were talking about, Bill Cosby and stuff like that. That stuff wasn't glorified back in the day. I mean, people were more strict about what their kids could watch.
Yeah.
And that stuff wouldn't sell 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Just what it is. If this show had came out in the early 2000s or the 90s, it would have shocked everybody.
Uh-huh.
Because that's like, I don't know. And I'm going to say, one thing I will say about Last Generation is they had a tendency, they were really private. So, like, you didn't have your cameras and picture phones. The reason why we know this stuff exists is because of that stuff. Because of social media. Because of your camera phone. So, like, now it's like back then with that stuff is like people, if it wasn't in your face, you didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
So you could get away with going and smoking weed and coming back and act like everything was fine unless you were around somebody who knew you did it, but they didn't visibly see it on camera.
Yeah.
So like if an old parent from the '60s, like a black parent who grew up in the civil rights movement, who was, all the black families back then were straight and narrow because they had to be in a lot of ways, because that's what we desired to be, especially with the era that we were living in as black people being denied rights. So a black civil rights parent seeing their kid act like that, or if they were to see that or see a reflection of that, especially churchgoers and religious people and stuff like that, that would have just think about how they reacted to rap music back in the day. Like, they're hearing the music, like imagine those rap lyrics being played out in a freaking TV show. Imagine how bad that would have been. People would have been protesting to the max. Now, the stuff that they've been protesting back then, it's acceptable now.
Yeah.
So, it's just a lack of structure that you see in today, and that's why 2-parent households are very important. And to even tie the conversation all the way back into Star Wars, Anakin
didn't have a father.
Didn't have a father
at all. So
he was. If you study, especially males, or just anybody who grew up without a father in the household, a lot of them tend to be very, very emotional because they tend to be around women.
Yeah. So
Anakin never had a father figure. The only one that he would have had would have been Qui-Gon, because Kenobi was more like a brother, mentor. Yoda and Mace Windu weren't hands-on.
Mace Windu was just
they were more like towering figures and role models. Or your role model is not your dad. Your dad is your role model, but it's like, it doesn't me saying my role model is Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, I've never met Michael Jordan. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just wasn't hands-on. It's just someone that I look up to. But it's not a hands-on father figure. So,
and if anything, the only father figure that he really had was Palpatine, which is why he gravitated towards him.
He gravitated to Palpatine, who was the wrong one. He just didn't know it, and by that time, he was so manipulated and so emotionally charged. It was like, well, he's promising me something that these cats won't give me, so I'm gonna go with him.
If you think about it, Maul screwed everything up by killing Qui-Gon, because Qui-Gon could have been that father figure that Anakin needed. He could have been that mentor that he needed. And if he was ever going to turn anyone for guidance, he could have been Maul. He screwed up everything by killing Qui-Gon. If Qui-Gon was there, I don't think Anakin would have turned to the dark side.
I think that's actually the most important death of all of Star Wars.
Remember Duel of the Fates? Duel of the Fates is titled Duel of the Fates when it's playing for that duel between Maul, Qui-Gon Jinn, and Obi Wan Kenobi, because it's dueling over the fate of Anakin Skywalker. How is he going to turn out? And because Maul killed Qui-Gon Jinn, that's what Dave Filoni was talking about in one of the interviews. He was talking about the Duel of the Fates. And technically speaking, if we're also going to go bring it back to Kenobi, since that music plays in the trailer, it is still the Duel of the Fate, but instead of for Anakin, it's now for Luke Skywalker. This is the fate of the galaxy moving forward, and the Chosen One's son. So it's a great parallel, and again, I don't think that Disney thought of it that far ahead. I think Disney's playing the song because it's a recognizable song, but it's an interesting parallel.
Disney thinks as far as me looking at that wall over there.
I think you're thinking too far and thinking that Disney actually thinks about it. I don't think Disney thinks about it at all. I was like, play Duel of the Fates. And people are like, oh, this means something. And Disney's like, yeah, sure, it means something. Yeah, whatever.
I thought I delivered an insult. You just delivered a KO.
And with that is going to be the end of the podcast. Because we're going to leave right there. It can't go anything better from that. Screw you, Disney.
It cannot. Disney... We need to have a talk. They said, spare the rod, spoil the child. Right now, you the child. You need a couple spankings. Especially you, Kathleen Kennedy. Any name with the last name Kennedy is cursed in America.
Oh, no.
Did he go there?
Holy
he went
crap,
there.
That went dark.
I went there.
Oh, this is going to get a restricted section.
Hey, they might shut your podcast down.
Holy
my bad.
crap! I'm gonna get it like your podcast is now restricted. Congratulations.
NSFW.
Kennedy assassination? We don't know.
Playing conspiracy theories. We know y'all killed Kennedy.
Mickey Mouse. He was behind it all.
Oh
dear.
Speaking of, we look.
I'll get over you. He's talking this guy.
I just want to know. When are we going to get the Kennedy files? We don't have to wait another 30 years for that. Kathleen Kennedy, pull it together. If you're going to be who you say you are, your little title and whatnot.
It makes it better because of how you're holding the mic.
I know.
Kathleen Kennedy. Just abuse the mic.
I'm trying not to grip it like I would rip her ego and rip
Just
it out
like take it out. Like Kathleen Kennedy.
You know what? Kathleen Kennedy. I'm gonna grip it like I would grip her ego if I was sitting right in front of her. You need to do better. We're not looking for hope when it comes to Kenobi. We can have a little snide remarks. We want to see a little bit of old Kenobi. The guy, the sarcastic guy. I mean, I don't want him to just be sitting here just moping all day and writing in his journal about,
his feelings. Obi Wan Kenobi's the series, writing in his journal.
Right.
Jeez. I felt sad today.
I'm so sad today. It just feels like Anakin died yesterday. 5 minutes later, he's alive.
Surprised emoji.
Oh man. Hey, let me ask you a question.
Yeah, we're gonna keep this Mike Holden thing.
We're gonna keep it going for right now.
Like we're about to sing into a pop song or something. I believe
Kenobi. Nah, but I will say. All right, so let me ask you a question.
Yeah,
so,
go ahead.
What's the name of the Kenobi's love interest that he was
Satine.
Satine.
Yeah.
Would you ever mind seeing Satine live action?
I would love to see her in live action.
I think they could have brought her back by now in a flashback.
I think they probably should, because that was like Kenobi's like few temptations.
I think they should bring her back in the Kenobi series.
I think so, because if you think about it, Kenobi is like the truest form of the Jedi, and he only had a few temptations. She was one of them.
I mean, to think about it, him denouncing, or going against, what Anakin had with Padme, I'm sure in his mind, Satine, the character, didn't exist at the time of Revenge of the Sith, clearly, but if you think about it, it's like, I'm sure in his mind, if he was really thinking about it, it's like, dang, this man went off and got married, and I had the chance to do what I needed to do or could do, and I didn't have the balls to do what Anakin ended up doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure those thoughts came to his mind. So bare minimum, we should hear about Satine. Bare minimum, but I think the flashback could be like, dang, going back to Satine and regretting.
You could have married her, and she said in the Clone Wars, like, I would have left the Jedi Order for you. He said that I would have left the Jedi Order.
Here's the thing. This is what I'm saying. Do you think Jedi should have allowed to have love lives?
I honestly do. I think that Jedi should. I think the whole point of being a Jedi, and that what Obi-Wan Kenobi later on in life, and what Luke Skywalker, especially in Legends material, understood, is that Jedi need to be able to control their emotions, not be ruled by their emotions. Sith are ruled by their emotions. Now, that doesn't mean you can't express love. That doesn't mean you can't express your feelings. That's why Luke ended up marrying Mara Jade, a storyline that is so great, and a character of Mara Jade that is so great that Disney can't do it, because they can't allow great characters in their freaking material. Thanks a lot for excluding her from everything. So yeah, I do believe that Jedi can get married, and they should be able to express that, but they should be able to control their emotions. And I think that Obi-Wan, when he had the opportunity to seek revenge, seek the dark side, when Satine was killed in front of him and didn't do it, that's an unbelievable self-control.
Yeah, I think it makes them inhumane. And that's the problem I have with the Jedi. Like I said, it's not human nature. So
no,
when you try to fight that, and then the problem, that's why they ran into a problem with Anakin, because he's so human.
Mm-hmm.
He's an emotional human. Like he was. Anakin was the best and worst thing that could have ever happened to the Jedi. Literally the best and worst thing that could have ever happened. Like on both sides of the spectrum. Like on one thing, he's all the way the greatest thing the greatest Jedi ever. Mm-hmm. And then on the other spectrum, he's the worst Jedi ever, because he ended up being who he became. Yeah. So it leaving the humanity part, or the just the emotional being creature, because they're not obviously all humans, so you can't just say human. Yeah. But the emotional pull, like, let them be them, but train them, like as you said, really to train them to be able to control the difference between each emotion that they're having.
100%.
So yes, because you love someone, you still have to be able to prioritize the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they had learned how to do that, a lot of stuff would have been different.
Yeah.
But they were constantly looking at the big picture instead of paying attention to what's really going on.
The Anakin, the one that's right in front of their freaking face.
The little stuff is what the thing that they viewed as little came back to bite them.
Yeah.
That's the story. That's the story of Anakin Skywalker in a nutshell.
Yeah. The more I talk about it, the more I have respect for his character and the character development that George Lucas gave him. That's unbelievable story. And like Revenge of the Sith leading into the characterization of him all the way up into his death. What a great character. What a man. Well, Anakin Skywalker.
That's what,
ladies and gentlemen.
That's what pisses me off about the sequel trilogy, because you didn't get any of that. It was just like I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm a movie creating genius, so I don't know what they could have done with those characters to make them any better. I mean, really, I think that instead of making Rey like a quote unquote nobody, like she could have automatically been maybe a Skywalker, or she could have been a Palpatine, and we knew that from the jump. And you could have flip-flopped the story of how did Ben turn into what he turned out to be, and how Rey turned into what she ended up being. Yeah. But we jumped straight into Ben, and he wasn't even all the way dark. So it's like, how did you end up there, and you're still fighting your light side, and then Rey is just straight light fighting the dark? Like, the storyline didn't add up. Like, Anakin adds up, because we can talk about that all day of the human dynamics of why he was the way he was. Like, it was really like you just said. I mean, it deserves a round of applause. Like, it's like at first when you're younger, you don't understand those dynamics yet. So you're just looking at a guy who just turned evil. But when you grow up and you experience things and you look at other people and how they turned out, we just had a whole conversation about him not having a father figure. Yeah. And why he ended up looking at Palpatine the way he looked at him. Yeah. So understanding that from a human fan, grown man perspective allows you to connect and respect the situation a lot more. And I think it's still amazing that he still ended up turning to the light side at the end of the day. And then, because what's the other human perspective? Kids. Your child, your son, your daughter. Those things change you. Especially when your kids are able to reach you in a different place. That's human nature. Yeah. That's real. That's real emotion. But like, I don't know, just Rey and Ben and that whole thing, they bounced around. So like, I just hope with Kenobi that I hope it's organic. I hope it adds up from the continuity to the continuity, and I hope that they do him justice by allowing him to be him, but accurately explaining that time period for how dark it is, despite the little bit of hope that they may have for the future. That's how I look at it.
That's it. That was a great ending. That was great. That was really, really good. I think there's nothing that I don't think there's anything that accumulates the entire trilogy, Anakin's story and Rey's story, better than that. Rey's story was not well thought out. Anakin's story had a clear beginning, middle, and end, and what his character arc was going to be. I don't need to go any more than that. That was perfect what you just said. That's going to be the end of the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. We're not going to end with pulling our mics out and singing a music song. We're going to end with that. That's a little better. And the assassination of the Kennedys that we're not going to clarify here, because that's going to get me restricted, and I'm already...
Look, I'm not hoping for assassination with Kathleen Kennedy. That's not what I'm saying.
I thought you were just talking about
I'm saying the Kennedy curse is a real thing. Apparently, Kennedy is trying to curse Star Wars. I hope that doesn't happen.
We've already brought this up too many times, and I'm already monetized. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for the 4th episode of the GoodNight Take One podcast. Brandon, thank you for coming on this podcast, my guy.
Thank you for having me.
I got to really reach over. That was a terrible handshake, because I can't... Hold on. There we go. That's a real man's handshake. Got to grip the hand.
Yes, sir.
All right. If you haven't subscribed, please do. If you haven't listened to the podcast online, please do. We're on Spotify and other places. Please look at those. If you don't, that's fine. You have your own choice, and I can't force you to do anything, but I will cry if you don't. Thanks for coming on.
No problem. Make sure y'all check out my podcast, Be In Your Lane podcast. Subscribe to our channel. We have a lot of interesting things, and we don't get quite too nerdy, but maybe one day we might dive into it a little bit.
Maybe I'll come on, and then I'll bring the nerd. I'll bring the nerd.
Why not? This is the first time that I've been back on the podcast with Jacob since Ernesto passed. I just want to say rest in peace, Ernesto. He had great energy. I went back and rewatched the things, the podcast that we did, and it brought me to tears, man. Just seeing a person that was that full of life. He was a great person to be around. Always, he just brightened up the whole room, and so I just want to, let the family know I prayed for him, prayed for them. I hope everything is, getting a little bit better, and just for you, man, I think you did the right thing. I was telling my podcast partner, Claire Lanes, Ricky, that I think you did the right thing by ending what you guys had out of respect for him. And I'm not gonna lie, I was pleasantly surprised that you started doing this again, because I didn't expect you to. I didn't know how you were feeling emotionally about it, but I'm glad that you are. I'm glad that you found your niche. And rest in peace, Ernesto, man. We miss you.
Yeah, Ernesto's the reason I keep doing this. I never thought I would enjoy podcasting ever. This is not something that I generally would think that I would enjoy. Yeah. But doing that every week with Ernesto and speaking to a friend every single week about something we were both passionate about, right. I think this is just one way to honor him. But the whole reason that I say roll those credits at the end for Ernesto is in memory of him and what he meant to me. He was my best friend. He was the reason I kept doing this, and it was just so fun to do this, and keep continuing this up is one way. Yeah. I just hope to remember him.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, man, I just wanted to give a special dedication to Ernesto real quick since you mentioned him, and roll those credits.